First 30 seconds.
Ooh. What is up, geeks and gamers? It's your boy Q
And QMG.
and this is Into the QUNIVERSE. Like they always say, absence makes the heart grow fonder. We had to take a break last week, but we are back. And what a week to be back when we just had Sandiego Comic-Con 2019.
Yep.
And it's a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of stuff to take in. So, Kwamani, how about you set us up, you lay down the groundwork, and let's start it off like we always do with a good round of applause.
Yep. Let's let the ride out. So, essentially, with the what I predicted was going to be the case for the most part about this year's Comic-Con was it was going to be very light as far as universe earth-shattering announcements. Really, there was a lot. Now, that doesn't mean there weren't any great announcements as far as DC and Marvel goes, because it was, but it wasn't anything of the same realm of, Endgame, Avengers Endgame, or the Batman and Superman being in the same movie. But it was still certain things in the Comic-Con that was great. So first, let's start off with we're gonna start off, in the comics world, and we're gonna talk about how Marvel has begun their push to re-energize the X-Men franchise back as far as comics go. Well, they've hired this superstar writer by the name of Jonathan Hickman, who has been this phenomenal writer for previous titles. Like, he did the best Fantastic Four run in recent comic history. He did the best Avengers run in recent comic memory. He's even the one who laid the groundwork for a lot of the S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff you see in the movies, as far as Hydra and Captain America and the Winter Soldier and stuff. He's the architect behind all that, and he's finally gotten his hands on the X-Men. And I honestly was very skeptical of this man and what he would be bringing to the table, but I can firmly say, as a lifelong X-Men fan and a person who wants to see these characters be done justice in the film and television and comics, he's got his head in the right place. He speaks about letting all of these characters, these fan favorites, look as good as possible. He doesn't have an ego about himself. He doesn't look to be a person who has favoritism, or the characters that he just likes, and then there's characters he doesn't like. He's going to treat all of these characters as if they were his favorites. The genesis, the kickoff to all of this is there's going to be a series of books called House of X and Power of 10. It's got the X, but the X represents the Roman numeral 10. And what that is going to lay the groundwork of what the X-Men books are going to look like. And then once that's done, we're going to get your traditional X-Men comic book, which essentially is going to feature all of your favorite mutants. If you've paid attention to the X-Men for 1 or 2 years or all of your life, you're going to see probably one of your favorite X-Men in that book. Next up, we have New Mutants, which is once again getting another comic run. New Mutants focuses on, there's not a lot of plot details so far, but the New Mutants have traditionally been focusing on the second generation of mutants that's come out after Storm and Wolverine and Cyclops and Nightcrawler were introduced. There was a new crop, and it looks to pull from that traditional lineup as far as and probably will be other teams members joining later on. Next up, in the traditional sense of X books, is a book called X-Force, and that traditionally has been the Black Ops team or the Stern team of X-Men characters, and this one looks to be the one where, like I would call it your Avengers book, the more traditional boots on the ground X-Men story that they're going to be pushing out. And now I'm going to get in. Well, no, there's one more traditional X-Men book. It's called Excalibur. And this one is going to focus on mutants and magic, mutant magic. And a lot of the details aren't out right now, but it's going to be focusing on fan favorite X-Men characters finding out mutant magic, like how magic pertains to the mutant genes and the mutant culture and whatnot. And that leads me to talk about the two completely new idea comics from the X-Men corner, which is, the first one is Fallen Angels, and is going to focus on Psylocke, X-23, and a younger version of Cable, and it looks to be more of a serious book with those three, because those three characters are some of the most emotionally tied and hardcore X-Men characters. So I can guarantee there are going to be a lot of emotion and hard choices made in that book. And the last one is called Marauders, which is, by its description, one of the more out there, quirky, probably X-Men titles. And it's basically Storm, Iceman, Kitty Pryde, Bishop, Pyro, and Emma Frost being One Piece, mutant pirates, doing humanitarian stuff. And that alone should hook you on there. The X-Men book, going back to the X-Men book, that's going to have all of the mutants. Excalibur, this is going to have Rogue, Gambit, Captain Britain, Black Tom Cassidy, and I think that's it. I might be missing one or two mutants, but that's the gist of it. New Mutants, the traditional lineup: Magic, Karma, Sunspot, Danny Moonstar, those type of characters. X-Force, that's like the most interesting of the bunch because it has Jean Grey, Wolverine, Colossus, Beast, characters that you don't traditionally. You got Domino in there, and she's a X-Force mainstay, but that's why I say it's probably going to lean more towards an Avenger style book instead of its previous incarnations of it being more hard-nosed and hard-pressed. So definitely the premises alone will entice people. But when I go back to the writer Jonathan Hickman, he wants to basically he wants to build up the X-Men in a way that hasn't been done before, and he wants to not retread, because that's been a major issue as far as X-Men titles go, is that there's been a retread of stories that came out back in the day, in the 70s and 80s and even the 90s, and it seems like new writers simply come in to just tell the same story but just their own interpretation, and these are completely new concepts and ideas that are seemingly being pushed out there. So it's definitely something that I'm excited for, and the most exciting part about it is these books aren't servicing the MCU. These books aren't being written to eventually be adapted into a movie or a TV show or video game. It's written specifically to be its own thing in the comics, and if it's adapted, then that's fine, but it's more or less just being its own entity, which I feel like is the strength of comic books. You need it to be its own entity first, and if it can be translated to different media, that is good. If not, then that's not necessarily a bad thing. So, and especially when it comes to the X-Men, which I believe is the most prolific comic book series of all time, it needs this new direction because the previous runs are ironclad. They're diamonds. You don't need to improve upon them. You don't need to keep going back to them. What you need to do is push forward and just push forward and honor the past, but push forward to make a brighter future, which in and of itself is the X-Men's mission statement. What are your thoughts on the synopsis I've given you about the X-Men run, Quinn?
Well, I feel like we see the X-Men all the time for the last early 90s, early 2000s. I'm hyped to see him again. Some of the characters that you named, like Bishop and stuff, I like to see where they go with him, but I'm not really hype about the X-Men. I'm more of a Wolverine fan, if anything. It's good to see them back in the limelight because it was such a sour note that they haven't been in the limelight for the past 10 years. And the shine that they have gotten is soiled by bad movies, or objectively bad movies. So subjectively bad movies, whatever we want to call it. But I feel like the X-Men also have a chance to bring their name back into the good graces of Marvel fans. It's so much more with Sandiego Comic-Con than the X-Men, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about them.
Yeah, so
I was saying because their comics are going to be good. I'm more of attuned to keeping up with the comics now, just to keep up with the story plot of how the characters are being developed. But I'm more into the films right now as far as superheroes go. So I can't really just speak on the comic book aspect, but I'm definitely happy to see where they take the X-Men in these next about 10 years. So that's pretty much how I feel about the X-Men.
All right, before we go any further, let's look at the folks who's dropped in. We got Dante Reedy with the comment, "The brother."
Shout out Dante, appreciate you
shout out to
tuning
Dante, Big Dante. Hunter Davis is watching.
What up, Hunter? What up?
Charles Brandon is watching. Jeff McDowell is watching. Maurice Hayes is watching. Stefan Hoff is watching. And Chalice Duran is watching. Shout outs to all y'all coming out and coming in. So from now we jump from the Marvel side to we're gonna DC really didn't have that much stuff.
Hold on. Let's backtrack for a minute. Shout out to everybody who was at Anime's BluesCon 2019. I wasn't there personally, but representing Geeked Up Media, QMG was there. If you want to just give a brief little overview of your time at Anime BluesCon.
Anime BluesCon was dope. There was a lot of people there. A lot of cool things that was happening. Me and my cousin, we were able to sit through a panel with the voice actress who played Asuka from Neon Genesis Evangelion. She's not only was the voice actor, but she was also the voice coordinator on a lot of the, not just the original series, but a lot of the remakes of the series. And she spoke on her experiences and voice acting and whatnot. And that was a pretty cool panel to sit through. Yeah, other than that, we just chilled, talked to a lot of people that was there, a lot of cool cosplays that were there, and just enjoyed the experience. Anime BluesCon, that was my first time going to the official version of it. The only other experience I have with Anime's BluesCon was going to the Winterfest. That happened a couple of years ago, back in 2016, I believe. So, yeah, Anime BluesCon was definitely a fantastic experience.
And you took a lot of pictures, and we'll be posting those on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm pretty sure we'll have some other sites like Twitter going up with those. So you guys stay tuned in for that. And once again, appreciate the love and support. You guys keep tuning in. I know we said we'll be having some more content. We're still working on that, so you guys be ready.
Yes, they're definitely being cooked up as we speak right now. So that is most certainly something you can look forward to. But let's
back to Comic-Con, Sandiego.
We're gonna jump from Marvel, not necessarily to DC, because they didn't have quite as many comic book announcements. They did have a lot of announcements to go, but not in the comics department. So instead, I want to transition over to another franchise that's seeing a resurgence in this day and age, and that's Power Rangers. And Power Rangers had a lot of good announcements from their merchandise. They've dropped new figures, the next figures, OG Pink Ranger Kimberly, the Magna Defender from Power Rangers Lost Galaxy season, the Red and Gold Rangers from the current Power Ranger series, Beast Morphers, and a 2-pack of Green Ranger Tommy with his Dino Thunder helmet with the silver lining and a traditional putty in a 2-pack. And the quality of those figures, if you're into collecting action figures and whatnot, are very, very good. I have the Shadow Ranger from Power Rangers SPD, and it was a very one-to-one immaculate detail from what I saw on the show, which I've always wanted from a Power Rangers action figure. But besides that, they also dropped new news as for regards to the current season and the subsequent second season of Power Rangers Beast Morphers, which looked good. They finally have the full team roster out, and looks like they're gonna get new modes, fight the new bad guys. But the biggest news was that next season in 2020, when they come back for the second season of Beast Morphers, they're going to do a team up of all of the dinosaur-themed Power Rangers up until this point, which means Mighty Morphin, Dino Thunder, and Dino Charge Rangers are all going to be coming back. And so far, the confirmed in-person actors are the Red, Black, Gold, and Blue Rangers from Power Rangers Dino Charge. And most importantly, Austin St. John, for the first time since 2002, will be reprising his role as Jason, the Red Ranger, OG Red Ranger in Power Rangers, and that has led to a large amount of excitement. It was rumored and speculated for months now that was the case, the sightings of him in New Zealand, but now it's been officially confirmed. And as I said this, I think last podcast that we did, that Power Rangers Beast Morphers has been a really good season of Power Rangers. It definitely takes its story seriously while maintaining the heart. And if just judging off of the way the last time they did a team up like this last season, I predict that this episode, when it comes out, will be fantastic.
Well, me personally, as y'all know, disclaimer, we're Power Rangers fans, big Power Rangers fans. But disclaimer, me personally, I'm more of a fan of the early era all the way up to probably mid Disney. Everything else after that, I'm not really a huge fan of, so I don't keep up with the later series or later seasons. But I'm definitely a huge fan of the early seasons. And Austin St. John, we got to meet him in person at Mississippi Comic Con last year. One of the best moments of my life. We got to meet him in person. It was amazing. But what Power Rangers are doing, I'm really hype about where they're going. I'm really glad that they're keeping it going for the younger generations, adding more on. I don't really care too much that care for it too much that they're rebooting the movie, because I actually liked the actors that were in the movie.
But we're gonna get into that in the lightning round, because I do want to bring that up. But it's good that you brought up your love for the previous generations, because they also revealed the comic book, the premise of the current comic book run of Power Rangers, which has been kept under wrap and key up until this point, but they finally released the full details about this next run in the comics called Necessary Evil. And essentially, after the events of the previous major run and event called Shattered Grid, the Power Rangers timeline has reformed the way that it should be. Y'all know the story. Tommy loses his Green Ranger powers forever and becomes the White Ranger. Zach, Jason, and Trini leave, and then Rocky, Adam, and Aisha comes in. But now they're expounding upon it, and the big news about that is it's now been revealed that Trini, Zach, and Jason, they didn't leave to just go to a peace conference in Switzerland. They actually had to leave to become a new group of Rangers called the Omega Rangers. And Hasbro and Power Rangers officially revealed what they'll be looking like through actual people in actual cosplays of people made by the people who traditionally make the real life Power Ranger suits. So, and the designs look A1, they look dope. And that's a nice little thing, not nice little because it's actually major. It's a good thing because not only is it, for one thing, honoring the late Thoy Tran who played Trini in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but it's also adding new lore to Power Rangers in a way that people weren't expecting, and that is canon, because for those who don't know, the stuff that happens in the comic books, while it might not be referenced one-to-one in the show, most of the events happened in a way that that they can bring up in the show. So as it stands, yes, you might see them or might see something in regards to the Austin St. John and Walter Jones, who played Zack and Jason respectively, showing up as Omega Rangers in Power Rangers in the near future, because that happened. It's not just something one-off that just exists in the comic book. And in other major Power Rangers news, and this is quite honestly my favorite news, comic book news, regardless of movies, TVs, or anything, the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers are going to team up with the Ninja Turtles in the comic book form this fall, or this winter. No, it's fall. This fall. It's going to be a 6-issue event where the Green Ranger, he doesn't join this in a different universe where the Green Ranger doesn't immediately join the Power Rangers. He flees them and goes to New York, and he teams up with the Shredder, and it's up to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to get through to Tommy and stop the Shredder. And for those who don't know, the Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles, they're like this in my mind, and I can assume that's the same for Q. And back in the day, the Power Rangers and Space Rangers, they did team up with a version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that was awesome. But to see the traditional OG Power Rangers team up with a traditional OG Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that is the biggest dream come true. It's almost like a prophecy being fulfilled in a way. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, and I foresee it being very well done, because IDW, the people responsible for the Ninja Turtles comics, and Boom, who's responsible for the Power Rangers comics, they always keep a high quality of themselves, and the story itself is being written by Ryan Parrott, the current writer of Power Rangers, and who has written some Ninja Turtle stuff in the past, if I'm not mistaken. So I predict it being a very well done comic. Q, what was your response when I told you about this comic happening?
Like I said, I'm not really into comics at this very moment, so I ain't really just been too much diving into it. It sounds cool. I'm definitely a fan of the Ninja Turtles and the Power Rangers teaming up. Since the early In Space episode, it was always one of my favorite episodes. But as far as just being really intrigued by it, I might catch it on the back end if the run does really well. But I'm definitely not gonna just hop on the train just to read it. But I'm definitely pretty excited to see that they're actually putting a lot more effort into pleasing the fans and giving fans what they really want to see. In this decade, it seems like we're gonna get a lot of fan servicey stuff, and I'm always a big fan of fan service. Big fan of it,
and not just fan service, but high quality fan service, where the fan service and the quality of the story are neck and neck. They're not just throwing stuff in there to make fans happy superficially. They're throwing stuff in there to make fans enthralled with the story, regardless of if your favorite characters from two different universes are teaming up. So before we go any further, we're going to go ahead. There's been new people that's coming in. We got Kim Cam Zigzag, Kimmy Ziegler watching. Shout outs to Kim. We got Therese J. Brown watching. Shout outs to him.
Appreciate it.
And we got Crystal S. Houston watching. Shout outs to y'all.
Y'all keep tuning in. Appreciate the love and support.
So next, we're going to go into what DC had to offer. And this Comic-Con, the major meat of what DC was offering was, and this is a surprise, but it was all of their television properties, whether it's from the CW or their streaming service. And first things first, it was revealed that for the first time in over, I believe, 13 years, Brandon Routh will be reprising his role as a version of Superman. So, yeah, let's definitely give him a round of applause. For those who don't know or may not remember, back in 2006, there was a Superman movie by the name of Superman Returns, and Brandon Routh played Superman. Yep. And he was the traditional. The movie was meant to be a spiritual successor to the Christopher Reeves, Richard Donner Superman movie, specifically 1 and 2, and he emulated that pretty well. But the reception wasn't that well. The movie itself wasn't real well received. Although, if you look at Superman's history, you can easily tell that along with him, Henry Cavill, operate in a very well Superman adjustable. They both played a very well version of Superman for their particular stories, and he is on this Arrowverse CW shows as the Atom on Legends of Tomorrow and previously on Arrow. So to see him come back and play Superman is a nice little emotional win, because he kind of, if you've seen interviews or read interviews with him talking about it, he's always spoke a little bit down on it because he kind of felt like he let the character of Superman down based off of the reactions. But it's good to see that he's able to get a second chance. And the reason why he's going to be playing Superman again is because the CW shows are going to be doing an event, quite possibly the biggest event DC has done on television. Not quite possibly, it is the biggest event. Yes. And that is Crisis on Infinite Earths. And that, while not a one-to-one to the comic book and the comic book version that it originated from, it will be focusing on the multiverse of the DC television shows, which means we have a possibility of seeing Smallville again, or seeing the often forgotten Birds of Prey TV show again, or seeing the old school Flash TV show that I just recently found out a couple of years ago they even had. And it's going to focus on a lot of that stuff. The details on it are sparse, but that's the gist of it. And speaking of which, Arrow will be going into its last season, and the whole premise of the last season will be Oliver and the Monitor, who's one of the major characters in that story, going throughout the multiverse, fixing problems, and able to start amassing forces to combat the threat. And sticking with the CW, Flash and Supergirl are going into their fifth and sixth respective seasons. Supergirl's 5th, the Flash is 6th. They each focus on interpersonal storylines. The Flash, it seems like it's going to be focusing on a character played by the guy who played Suresh from Heroes, and his ability to preserve life and keep people from dying. And Supergirl will be coming out of the fallout of Lena Luthor, Supergirl's former friend, finding out the truth of her dual identity. So that seems to be the two major things for those shows. Legends of Tomorrow, who knows? For the past 2 seasons, they've leaned more towards their silly side and dropped any type of serious pretense. So who knows how they're going to interact in that show and in the larger scale story arc that's going to be played out. And the black sheep, the dark horse of the CW shows, the newest one is Batwoman. And in our very first couple of podcasts, we spoke at length on Batwoman. The pilot episode was shown, and it has gotten mixed reactions. I've seen people claiming that while the story beats are pretty solid, it's kind of hard to really ingrain yourself in them because of the quality of the production. Prevents you. I can report soundly that it doesn't seem to be a faux feminist story, which is something Q and I expressed very much concerns into. It seems like they handle those topics very well, as far as you can for a CW show. So that's very heartening to see. And I've seen people not have anything bad to say about it. They said that they liked it. So who knows? We won't know until the final product comes out this fall. I know that they said that the first season will take place in the early years of Batwoman, as far as the first half of the first season will go, and that they will transition towards, probably more so after Crisis on Infinite Earths, a more up-to-date, up-to-speed setting, because they emphasized Supergirl playing a major role in the future crossover episodes for Batwoman. So it'll be interesting at the very least to see what they do. What are your thoughts on the CW's current slate and what they got planned up their sleeves this upcoming year?
Well, I think the CW universe is the Crisis on Infinite Earths is going to be really good. I don't see how they can mess that up unless they just retcon everybody's story and make from scratch.
Well, I've already said my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. I've already said my opinion on the CW so far, but that's neither here nor there.
I honestly think that Brandon Routh coming back as Superman is going to be really good. I think he deserves to get a proper ending with the way that the Crisis on Infinite Earths is being used. I really feel like it's another chance for a lot of characters to get more time to shine and show more range of acting with multiverse versions of these characters.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure they're still going to use multiverse versions of the same actor playing different characters. So that'll be good to see. Tyler Hoechlin, I'm happy to see him back reprising his role of Superman. I'm a fan of him because from Teen Wolf. I'm a fan of that show. I also like Supergirl's new suit.
Yes, it's very much Injustice 2 inspired.
It looks very awesome. I like it a lot.
I'm not digging the bangs. The bangs, she could have kept the bangs.
I'm just talking about the suit.
Yeah, but the bangs kind of threw me out because I thought it was a bad wig at first. But then, I hate doing that because I'm not an expert on hair at all. Men, women's, or at all. But she could have kept the bangs. I'm just saying.
But other than that, I think the CW is going to do really good. As far as Arrow Season 8, I was a fan of Arrow Season 1 through 4. Kind of fell off through the last 3 seasons, didn't watch them, but I'm definitely going to binge watch once the show finally comes to an end. I was a really big fan of Arrow early on. I thought they did a great job. Oliver Queen was a great Batman to have because they weren't using Batman at the time.
Great 3 and 4 is kind of... Yeah,
but I me personally, I liked it. So I think they were doing a good job. Supergirl, I watched the first 2 seasons, binge watched them, really liked them. Flash, I'm not a big fan of the Flash. People would say that's probably their best favorite one, but I'm not really a big fan of it. But I love the crossover episodes when they cross over with the other superheroes.
Yes, in spite of my very much misgivings about the CW, and I have a lot of them, I will say that their crossover episodes, really, like the best of what the CW shows can do, comes out in their crossover episodes. And I only imagine, hope, and pray that they knock it out of the park with Crisis on Infinite Earths. And of course, I would be remiss, before I go over to the other shows, I would be remiss if I didn't express to you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hype would it be if the Smallville characters played a significant role in Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Well, they were saying that they might use Smallville Superman, they might use him as an older Batman.
So. No, I mean specifically, Tom
Welling was Smallville's. If he was his Superman, that would be hype. It would be really hype. I would be very hyped for that.
Yes, and that will be it for the CW shows. But we're not done with DC TV because now we move over to the DC streaming service shows, and that is really where a lot of the excitement has come out universally for. They knocked it out of the park with their shows from what I've heard. First things first, we're going to start off with Titans, not Teen Titans, but Titans, the live action DC Universe show that focuses on the Titans that, the Teen Titans, but they're not the teens, they're young adults. And from the stuff that I've read on the trailer descriptions, it looked very good. They had finally introduced Aqualad to the team. They've updated all of the characters' costumes. They look awesome. Specifically, I gotta mention Wonder Girl's and Aqualad's costumes. They look awesome in it. Raven finally gets her jewel that she's had in all her iterations. So it looks like in the first, if you watch Titan season 1 and how it ends, basically, and if you read reports, basically they're going to defeat Trigun in the first episode because she gets the jewel. That, for those who don't know, in the comics, the jewel is what keeps Trigon at bay. So for her to have it, that means they have to defeat Trigon. But that means that they're going to have to face a new villain, and the new villain is 100% Slade Wilson Deathstroke, and he looks fantastic. He looks almost, I would say, just a tiny step down than the Deathstroke you've seen if you watch Justice League. He looks a step down, and that Deathstroke looked awesome, but he looks like barely one step down from the way that Deathstroke looks, and that has a lot of people excited. The stuff they showed off was good. Superboy's going to be in this season. Crypto, the super dog, is going to be in this season. So that's super doggo for you dog lovers out there. That's going to be good. And all in all, great stuff being heard about that. Following up on that, Doom Patrol confirmed to have a second season that is not only going to air on DC Universe Online streaming service, but the upcoming HBO Max streaming service, which is going to do it wonders. The first season, I've watched a couple of episodes on it, and the stuff I've seen is phenomenal. A1, top tier stuff. Very off-kiltered in the best way imaginable. Very much, keeping with the goofy but serious nature that the Doom Patrol very much is well known for. If you've kept up with the characters, it's very much good superhero comic book television, and I'm glad to see that it's gotten a second season about it. And third to lastly, we got Young Justice confirmed season 4.
Yep.
It's going to do something different. It's not going to be a large story arc. It's going to be slow building to the story arc that they're currently doing, but they want to focus on characters that's been taking a back burner. The rumors that I've read is that it's going to focus on Tim Drake, Cassie Lang, the Wonder Girl character, not Stephanie Brown, Cassandra Cain, the second generation Batgirl. I'm sorry. And I believe Static. For those who don't know, Static Shock, if you watch the show Static, those are the characters going to focus on, and focus on that core Unix and build on those characters.
Yeah.
And whatnot. It's not. They're still going to be the plot threads that's been showing up over the past 3 seasons. So they're not completely rebooting or anything like that. But they want to flesh these characters out, from my understanding, and focus on just that much. And if you watch Young Justice, whether you watch the current season or the previous seasons, it excels at building characters. So I'm very much excited for that. And Q, what are your thoughts on the the DC Universe streaming service shows and how they're going to progress?
Well, I'm definitely a fan of Titans. I watched season 1. I enjoyed it a lot. So I'm definitely ready to see the next season and what they do with those characters. With all of the new characters they're adding, I don't know how they're going to work with the pacing with so many new characters. I don't know if they're going to. From my
understanding, it's just the 3: Aqualad, and the 2. Counting Crypto, just Aqualad and Superboy are the only 2 that's going to be major characters that will probably be in every episode. Everybody else is going to be holdover from first season, but the only 2 brand new characters are Aqualad and Superboy.
Okay, well, I still want to see how they do with the pacing with adding 3 new characters and a special dog, but I think they're gonna pull it off. was really happy to see them using more grittier tones and stuff with the Teen Titans that we normally don't get with them since the comic books. Now we also have 3 versions of the Teen Titans in this month, in this year, in this generation. We got the Titans, we got Teen Titans, and Teen Titans Go. So can't be too mad about that. We're definitely in a good age. But as far as Doom Patrol, I still have to watch Doom Patrol. I liked them in Teen Titans. They were really good. I was really happy to see their iterations of people playing them. Happy to see Brendan Fraser back on the screen after his little blackballing in Hollywood. He's back as a good character. So I'm really happy what they're doing with DC. As far as the streaming services, I'm really ready to see this new Superman Hero of Tomorrow animated movie. That's really what I'm looking forward to. I want to see what they do with Superman.
Well, it's a good thing, because I'm glad you brought up the animated series, because they did. That's one of the movies they announced. They announced Man of Tomorrow. They announced Wonder Woman Bloodlines, another DC animated movie coming up. Batman Hush, which should be out in I believe the next couple of months. That's something that's going to be coming out. But the major stories is Superman Red Son, one of the most prolific Superman stories of all time, is getting an animated movie coming out, and going back to the animated series, the Harley Quinn adult cartoon show premiere. They showed the first 2 episodes of it, and that's been getting amazing reviews. It's everything you condense Harley Quinn, all of the good stuff that you expect from her, and you give it a nice adult themed setting with action and violence and comedy, and that's what you get out of that story. The premise of it is she's kicked Joker to the curb. It's her and Poison Ivy. Well, really just her, because this Poison Ivy isn't necessarily a villain. She's just more of a person who, just like you, she wants the planet. She wants people to protect the planet, but she's not going to take crap if you do that. So she's going to be like, basically, if you've seen Daria, it's basically Daria with superpowers. That's how you can characterize Poison Ivy. And it's basically Harley Quinn trying to join the Legion of Doom, and shows that she's cool enough to do that as far as going into other misadventures. If you've watched Batman Brave and the Bold, the voice actor who played him, his name escapes me, but he's also in Napoleon Dynamite and Balls of Fury. If you've seen those movies, he's in those 2 movies, and he played Batman in Batman the Brave and the Bold. And when Batman shows up in the Harley Quinn show, he's going to be the one voicing him. So that's a nice little continuity between Batman actors that I like. And it like I said, it was getting rave reviews universally, comedy wise, just character wise. I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'm happy to see that this show is going to give the Karen love it deserves. I'm kind of a stickler when it comes to Harley Quinn's voice, because Tara Strong, if you've ever watched any cartoon over the past 10 years, you've heard her voice, and she's recently picked up Harley Quinn, and she's been so spot on with it that I've kind of been a stickler with if somebody else plays Harley Quinn, because she's just so good at playing the character. But I can honestly say Kaylee Kuko, who, if you've seen Big Bang Theory, she's the blonde woman, and she's the blonde woman of the show, and she has been getting rave reviews from her interpretation of Harley Quinn. But that's not the only major thing that's come out of the animation department of DC, because Teen Titans vs. Teen Titans Go was also premiered at Comic-Con, and they have said it's literally the best if it's a send-off to both shows or a continuation, it's fantastic. People have said that if you've seen Teen Titans Go to the movies, they said it's just as good, if not better than that. And get it out your head now. I can say it now, and I'm speaking more to you than anybody else. There is no rug pulling under the original Teen Titans. They treat both entities with respect and care and love as you would want them to. It's not, we're going to prop up Teen Titans Go and bring down Teen Titans a peg or two. It's simply elevating them both, honoring not just the shows, but the Teen Titans as its own entity, comic books, anything that you can think of. It's honoring that. The stakes out here are very much important to the movie, as well as the surprises and laughs and the action. So basically, if you've ever wanted this to see this, it's going to give you exactly what you want. So I'm proud to report that. I'm happy to report that. Q, what are your thoughts of of the reception towards Harley Quinn and Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go?
Well, I'm very hyped to see the rest of the Harley Quinn episodes. I think they're going to be really good. From what I've seen, it's really interesting to see where they take Harley Quinn adult-themed show with characters that usually don't get portrayed as adult themed. So in animation, now comic books is different, but animation, we really don't get to see a lot of these characters in adult themed situation. I think it would be good to see that. And also, Kelly Kuko, as I've seen, she's done a great job. We also had another Big Bang Theory character play Harley Quinn.
Yes.
So it would be good to see her interpretation of the character. Also, Teen Titans Go. I still have to watch it. I haven't watched it yet, but like I've stressed before, I am ready to see what they do with those characters on both spectrums, the overly serious and overly funny, and bringing those together and swapping and mixing and matching. I would love to see how those two characters, the same actor playing two characters, two different mindsets bouncing off each other. I'm definitely ready to see that. It's looking really good in the animation department of DC. I'm really hyped to see where they take all this fan service and all this love and care that obviously these people are getting and putting it into a lot of content that I feel like is going to make 2020 and 2019 some great years for DC. It's really getting really good out here for creativity in the superhero, DC, Marvel, Image, all these other comic book outlets, Saban, everybody who's doing all this, it's really good out there for them.
Yes. So before we go to our lightning, before we go to our quick fire, we're gonna read some of these comments that's been popping up.
Oh, appreciate it, Tasha. Thanks. We're gonna keep it up. Love you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the love and support. Y'all guys keep tuning in. Like we said, we're gonna be bringing some more content coming in. Like you said, we just got a lot of real life stuff going on, trying to keep everything going, trying to get this content out to you guys. But you guys keep tuning in. We're getting better every week. Appreciate the love and support. Keep tuning in. But now, like you said, we're gonna keep it short and sweet because we're trying to get out of here, work on some more content, to talk a little things over, get it right.
Yeah, but before we do that, we're gonna do a couple of quick fires before we go into the main event of Comic-Con this year. So, just first quick fire event, Evo, the fighting game tournament, is in approximately 2 weeks. And there is a lot of things up in the air as far as announcements go. Now, last we spoke about Evo, we talked about what we believed would be on the show as far as competition-wise. But another major aspect of Evo is the announcements. Characters, games, stages, stuff of that nature. So far, Mortal Kombat 11 is the only one out that has openly spoken about things that could potentially be announced in the upcoming weeks, which is Nightwolf and Sandiego being downloadable characters for MK11, and Smash Brothers released at E3 that their next DLC character, the hero from the Dragon Quest games, would be released summertime. And when they say summertime video games, that mostly mean August. So we more than likely will either see the character released during Evo weekend or sometime after that. So my question to you, Q, is besides Mortal Kombat and Smash, what are your quick predictions of what you can see being announced for the other fighting games at Evo this year?
Not really anything, because last year we got Negan for Tekken. I don't think Tekken's really going to be doing anything new. This Evo, they might. Really, maybe Soul Calibur might show us some new characters, new maps. We haven't heard anything on them. They've been really MIA lately. Dragon Ball Fighters, I don't know if we're getting anything else from them. It's really kind of dead this Evo.
We might get something, because remember, the only characters we don't officially, there's only one character we don't know that's supposed to be coming out. We still know that the Super Broly version of Broly and Gogeta Blue, they're definitely the last two DLC characters. So I would assume that they would announce the character in between before those two at Evo. I've heard it might be Janemba. I've heard other things. So I'm not entirely sure about that.
And then Street Fighter, Street Fighter's been out a long time, so I doubt we're gonna get an overhaul of new mechanics, new game. We might get a super Street Fighter 5. We haven't got it yet. We got Arcade Edition, so it might be Ultimate Arcade Edition. You know, Street Fighter is known for doing those multiple versions with a whole overhaul of new characters. If that was the case, I'll be the most hype about that. But other than that, I don't see us getting too many things with fighting games. We're in that weird area where it's been a year or two after some, and some are just coming out, where we're not really getting a whole overhaul of new stuff. So I'll be likely to be more in tune of what minor mechanic changes come to a lot of these games. But as far as Evo, we're in that weird Evo year where it's not a lot of new stuff coming out for the game.
Alrighty. So my next and final quick-fire question is, it's summertime, so you know the heat's gonna be on. You know it's gonna be, depending on your geographical location, it's either gonna be really hot or really rainy, and you know you want to keep things cool and refreshed and whatnot. So my question to you, Q, is: if your refrigerator was running, would you go catch it?
Did you really? Anyway, back to what we were talking about.
So, yes, I had to sneak it in there. Anyway. I had to sneak it in there. But, anyways, the final thing we want to talk to you guys about today is, of course, the main event of Sandiego Comic-Con, almost by default. But, you know, that's how things work out at Comic-Con some years. So, we're going to talk about Marvel and Marvel Studios and what they got. So, let's get into it.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Oh, my back. I'm only gonna really just discuss one thing. I want to save the whole Marvel for next week for me personally.
Yeah, but there is at least 3 things that I wanted to just quickly touch on to give people an idea on what they were announcing, because I was surprised in more ways than I would expect with this announcement. So the first thing I want to touch on is that Thor will be having a 4th movie. This was announced earlier in the week, and now it's confirmed that the name of the 4th Thor movie is called Thor: Love and Thunder, and it's once again the previous director of Thor, who directed Thor Ragnarok, Taika Waititi. He's coming back to direct, and he's not the only returning face, because for the first time since Thor: The Dark World, Natalie Portman is coming back to Jane Foster, and the biggest news is that they will be adapting their version of the storyline where Jane becomes Thor. And my initial reaction to that is weird because in the MCU, Mjolnir's been destroyed. It doesn't exist. Hela destroyed it in Thor Ragnarok, and Thor has been using Stormbreaker
until Endgame.
But
when he went and got Mjolnir.
No, Mjolnir, he took it back, so it doesn't exist.
But he did use it. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't exist. It's gone. The timeline went back to the way it was supposed to be with no Mjolnir. And in the comics, you know, Thor hears long story short, Thor hears some BS, stupidly believes it, and he's no longer worthy for some reason. But Jane, of course, like a smart person, doesn't believe the BS, and she's able to wield Mjolnir, which is not nothing that out of the ordinary. Other individuals have been able to wield Mjolnir and prove themselves worthy, and she becomes Thor. And that is what this movie is adapting with it. Now, while I've had problems with the storyline in the comics, not the reasoning, I think Jane becoming Thor is your typical awesome character change moment in comics that has no problem happening from time to time. In the comics, it was executed very poorly. And I believe that it was done not to genuinely have another strong female character, but to synergize potentially with what the movies were doing, because at the time Jane became Thor, Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor in the MCU, he was speaking about maybe not re-signing his contract, which led to speculation that he might be killed off before we even got to Infinity War and the Endgame. And and the way that they introduced Jane in the comics was very haphazard. Now her character, the way she was written in her Thor series and in other series were very well done, and you got her motivations clear, and especially the fact that she had cancer at the time, and her being Thor was killing her, but her duty as to being Thor and saving Asgard and the world, she was willingly sacrificing herself. That's awesome and a cool hero moment. But in the comics, it was, it kind of was tripping over its feet. But I would argue that it made it across the finish line pretty well. The movies, however, the movies, in my opinion, as far as Thor goes, has not been too kind to the God of Thunder. I personally get down with the first two Thor movies to a certain extent. Thor Ragnarok simply was in my cup of tea. I feel like that movie was for people who never liked Thor and didn't like him being presented, and so they completely just threw that out of the window and gave me this new Thor. And while he was certainly funny, it wasn't very much. He wasn't compelling, and I feel like Endgame and Infinity War, two movies that featured Thor that had nothing to do with the director of Ragnarok, I feel like they got the message across better than what the director was trying to get across in the movie that led up to those things. So to hear him coming back, handling the story that already you kind of have to really be on and take it seriously to make it work, and to hear him coming back onto the movie, I'm not excited. Because I'm not excited for it. I feel like a lot of these emotional beats that should be taken seriously aren't, and I feel like it's going to make a lot of money, but it's also going to cause a lot of unnecessary controversy. Q, what are your thoughts on Thor: Love and Thunder?
I'm a big fan of the Thor movies. I didn't really care for number 1, but I love 2 and 3. I thought they were really good. I don't have a problem with Natalie Portman coming back as Jane. Yes. I think she'll be really good. Of course, it's gonna be a hilarious movie. It's gonna be more comedy driven, obviously. All the Thor movies have been very comedy driven, so I would also love to see all of the other characters that Natalie Portman were associated with come back, like
Kat Dennings' character and Asgard.
Definitely gonna come back. I'm pretty positive, and I would love to see their interaction with Jane now that she has the Thor ability.
And I will say this too, and now that you brought that up, I would like to see them interact with Thor as he is now. That would be very interesting, because when the last time they canonically saw Thor, he was, God and with God and smacking folks with hammer and very much superhero. But now, after the events of Ragnarok and Infinity War and the Endgame, his demeanor has changed, and I would like to see how, especially and more accurately, his appearance has changed, and I would like to see their reactions to that and how they relate to that.
Well, I'm 100% positive that he's not going to be Fat Thor.
No, they say he is. That's permanent for the most part. They want to see. No, they want to push him a body positive character who doesn't care if he's overweight or not.
We'll see.
No, I'm telling you, that's what they say.
We'll see.
Nobody really cares that he's not.
I don't care either. I'm just saying I don't think they're gonna do that.
That's what they said.
We're gonna see. They say a lot of things, but like I said, I don't want to dive too deep into the Marvel aspect. I want to keep that for the next episode. The biggest thing I took away was, if I butcher your name, don't hate me, Mahershala Ali.
That's literally the way it's supposed to be said.
Okay, I was just making sure I didn't butcher it.
We all make mistakes.
As being Blade.
Yes, that is dunking from the free throw. That's grand slam in the World Series. That's running from the one end. That's a kick return in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. That's any analogy that encapsulates getting it right. That is what Mahershala Ali being Blade is. There are not enough hours in a day to tell you how great of an actor he is. Every movie I've seen him in, show I've seen him in, he has killed it. And just him being Blade is just like, we all love Wesley Snipes, and we all only, for the most part, see him, and unless you're like one of the 3 Sticky Fingers fans who liked him as Blade. Mm-hmm. But Mahershala Ali as Blade is just such a dumb moment, as Miss Waddell would say. Shout out to Miss Waddell. It's just such a dumb idea, dumb moment that you almost will overlook it. But him being Blade is going to be amazing. It's been confirmed. Kevin Feige has come out and said that Blade will be the first Phase 5 Marvel movie. So he's not going to be out. His movie's not going to come out in the next 2 years, but shortly after that, maybe 2022, I believe that's what that he was implying about that. But it's a lot of cool things, and and then we'll definitely get more into that the next week. That's when you want to talk about it next week for sure. Yeah. Next week we'll talk about because there's a lot of ramifications that can come out of it. So yeah, Q.
Yeah, I'm just very happy to see him as Blade. Definitely a big fan of Wesley Snipes, who's also a martial artist himself. So to see Mahershala Ali, I don't know to the extent that his training is going to go, but I'm going to hold him to a very high standard. I have to, because Wesley Snipes did such a spot-on job as Blade with his prowess in acting and prowess in actual martial arts. He embodied the Blade character. Not only he's black as a mug, so
and I will say that if nothing else, we are almost guaranteed to have the best acted Blade. Not saying Wesley Snipes is no slouch as an actor. That gets lost. Most of people forget how well of an actor Wesley Snipes can be. Take out the action movie roles. If you put him in a dramatic movie, he will eat it up as an actor. But Mahershala Ali, I feel like he has the acting chops to surpass that in a way that we haven't seen before. But the last thing that I would like to speak about, and there's a lot of things, but we're like you said, we're going to cover that next week. But the major thing that was announced at this Comic-Con from Marvel was that, like I said, and like I knew, like I believed, and like I wanted, that yes, Fantastic Four and the X-Men are not just in development, but are in the same level of development as Black Panther 2 and Captain Marvel 2, which means that I would say, in all honesty, there is an 86% chance that in the next 3 years, specifically 2022, we could be looking at Blade, Captain Marvel 2, Black Panther 2, Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man 3, and the first Fantastic Four and the first X-Men movies. And I said this for as long as the merger has happened, was that there was no way in hell Marvel was going to sit on the Fantastic Four and, most importantly, sit on the X-Men franchises for no more than 3 years. No more. Of course, they're going to get the movies out of the way that they already had in the pipeline. But once those movies were out the way, they were going to make sure those movies were made. There was no, because that's just leaving, especially the X-Men, that's leaving way too much money on the table. And those are too many characters that are guaranteed to make billion-dollar movies. The only character that's guaranteed to make a billion-dollar movie outside of Spider-Man is Black Panther right now. I can say that Captain Marvel 2 might not generate the same amount of money as Captain Marvel 1. And the other movies that were announced might not generate $1 billion at all. Black Panther 2 is the only other Marvel character besides Spider-Man that's guaranteed to make $1 billion. And the other two are Fantastic Four and most assuredly the X-Men. And the simple fact that, and he didn't have to even say that. He could have just kept it mum and knew people were going to ask him and, say, oh, we're planning something. No, but for him to directly announce it as he was announcing Blade, because when they announced Blade, they announced it at the same time, at the same wavelength. So that means, and he mentioned Captain Marvel, Black Panther 2 in the same breath. He didn't even mention Spider-Man 3, which I believe he probably couldn't do because that's still a Sony conjoined Sony thing. So he couldn't just unilaterally say, oh, we're doing Spider-Man 3 at this point in time without first conversing and agreeing upon it with the Sony side. So that's my only reason why we didn't hear anything about that. Yeah. But to mention the X-Men and Fantastic Four explicitly by name. He also mentioned Guardians 3, but that won't be made probably until after those movies come out because James Gunn is doing the Suicide Squad. So after he's done with that, then he has to conceptualize Guardians 3, which is going to take a while. So, and we don't even know when the Suicide Squad are coming out. They say 2020, might be 2021, so who knows. So, but yeah, we're seeing them X-dudes and Fantastic Four guys fairly soon. So, Q, what are your thoughts on them? Confirming that's a
I knew they were going to do that. It wasn't really thought of too much because I knew it was coming. I knew they were going to bring it up. Didn't know to what scale they were going to bring it up, but I definitely knew that it was coming to be talked about, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. There was no sense of I don't want to say excitement, but no sense of oh my god moment. Like, they really brought them up when I knew they were going to do that 100%.
I will say that there was for me because I genuinely didn't. I was genuinely on the fence, and from everything I was hearing and talking to other folks about who have levels of status and know understanding of it, their names wasn't brought up. Between certain things that I've read and seen and talked about, it was always specific things brought up, and for the most part, it was one-to-one from what most people were talking about. But for them to explicitly name that, that's something that was going to be very much so, something to look forward to. And it's something that's going to be very much appreciated. But with that said, that'll be the end of this week's Into the QUNIVERSE live podcast. Thank y'all once again for coming on out. And as we have said, time and time again, we cannot do it without y'all. Y'all love and support is appreciated more than y'all will ever know. For coming out, listening to us on Facebooks, going to the YouTube channel and watching us afterwards, spreading the word on Facebook, all of that. Y'all are much appreciated. We, like Q has said, real life stuff has kind of been seeping its way into it, but that ain't stopping us. We still got things in the pipeline coming for you. We still got things that we're planning on doing, stuff to show you outside of the podcast situations that we be doing every week. So thank y'all for y'all love and support as usual. Follow us on Facebook on Quentin Ziegler. Follow us on Instagram at Into the QUNIVERSE. Follow us on the Twitters at Into the QUNIVERSE at iQUNIVERSE specifically. Subscribe to us on YouTube and click that notification bell so you get notified whenever a video comes up. And when you are on the YouTube, make sure you comment. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. Let us know what you like that's unrelated to the Into the QUNIVERSE podcast so we can have a discussion unrelated to what we were talking about in the video so we get to know each other better. Just let's get it poppin' locking. You know what I'm saying?
And like we always end it out, gotta thug it on out. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place. You guys stay tuned in. Like I always say, this was Q
and QMG.
And this was Into the QUNIVERSE. Peace, love, and respect.
And stay cool. It's summertime. If you're in the Memphis area specifically, it's being them Honduns. Make sure you got the AC blown. We do not need y'all passing out, getting heat strokes. For real, for real. We love y'all out here.
So peace out. We are out.
Woo woo.